Britain is an island ruled by royalty under the great king Uther Pendragon. Merlin, a youthful-looking, powerful, and mysterious mage, serves under him. The state of Britain at this time is troubling. The Saxons, overseas foreigners, demand land and gain influence due to a struggle between Britain's families. One such noble is Vortigern, the usurper, who schemes the demise of his own nation. Vortigern possesses great might, imbued with the essence of the White Dragon. Britain is doomed to ruin unless something drastic can be done. In order to create an ideal ruler for Britain's next king, Uther consults Merlin, and they work together so that Uther's child will transcend humanity. They set out to give rise to a child imbued with the essence of the Red Dragon that could thwart Vortigern. For this, they need a woman of noble blood, one Uther could impregnate with Merlin's magical influence, sealing a dragon's power into a single human. The woman most compatible with this procedure is Igraine, though she is already married to Gorlo, the Duke of Cornwall, one of Uther's retainers. This conflict makes Uther and Gorlo enemies. To circumvent this, Merlin uses his power to disguise Uther as Gorlo, so he may infiltrate enemy territory and make love to Igraine. The child is born, a girl named Artoria. Due to her sex, she cannot be properly reared as a future king, so she is entrusted to Merlin, who is still confident that the child will fulfill her destiny regardless. During battle, Uther is defeated by Vortigern, fleeing the land and sending Britain into the Dark Ages. Merlin reassures the people of Britain that there is still hope, that Uther is hiding an heir who will be the once and future king of Britain. Merlin's prophecies are known for their accuracy, and so the people wait 10 more years for their new king. At the age of 5, Artoria is placed in care of an honorable knight, Sir Ector, and his son, Sir Kay, to be brought up as a proper knight. The young Artoria serves as a squire to Sir Kay, under Ector's guidance. She takes care of their horses, Eto in particular, and trains in sword fighting. She views Sir Kay as a troublesome older brother, someone she admires despite being looked down upon. When she duels, she's a sore loser, stubbornly upset by her own weakness. Merlin watches over her, visiting her in her dreams to give her special lessons regarding the kingdom. She takes these lessons without emotion, not so much as questioning their purpose. While she contains the essence of the Red Dragon, she has a more personal affinity with lions after raising a lion cub for a month. At the age of 15, Artoria is sent to town to deliver Sir Kay's lance, and discovers that all the knights of the realm are gathering for the selection of Britain's next king. By pulling the sacred sword Caliburn from its stone, the victor will be declared the rightful heir. She watches as Sir Kay attempts and fails in frustration to draw the sword. As knight after knight prove unworthy of the sword, people begin to lose hope, and the knights leave to compete in jousting as a different method of deciding the victor. After all, none of them wish to become a saint, savior of Britain at their own sacrifice. Sir Kay advises Artoria to return home, unwanted in their test of strength for her slender, feminine body. The crowd moves to the arena, denying Merlin's prophecy and leaving Artoria alone with Caliburn. She questions why she's been living her life pretending to be a man, Artorias, learning swordsmanship, politics, reason, all the while suppressing her own desires. She understands that all her training has led up to this day. She is the prophesized heir. While she had imagined the life of an ordinary girl in the city, she pushed it down for this opportunity. Without hesitation, she grabs hold of Caliburn, but before she tries to pull it, Merlin asks her to think her decision through first. He warns that by pulling the sword, she will no longer be human, detested by many, and ultimately reaching a horrendous death. Brimming with a calm enthusiasm, Artoria pulls Caliburn from the stone, holding it high as Britain's new king. From that day on, she no longer ages. Artoria is not the only child of Uther's. Her older sister, Morgan Le Fay, is Uther's proper daughter, but never receives the same special treatment, and grows up envying Artoria. Morgan schemes against Artoria while hiding in seclusion. Artoria continues to conceal her gender so that none can question her rule. In fact, she hardly views herself as a woman in the first place. Rallying her people, Artoria fights 11 separate battles against the Saxons, leading from the front. She forms the castle of Camelot, gathering her best knights at the Round Table, including Sir Lancelot, Gawain, Bedivere, and Agravain. Of them, Agravain is considered second in command pertaining to the kingdom's policies. He is the son of Morgan Le Fay, initially placed at the Round Table through the influence of his mother in order to act as a spy and take down Artoria. He acknowledges Morgan's desire to usurp the throne, as well as the need for Britain's king to be strong, but he actually finds Artoria to be the better candidate. While functioning as a knight, his loyalty is strained between his mother and his king. During their battles, Artoria's army confronts Vortigern, fully manifested as a dragon with fierce flames. They fight for hours, until Artoria and Gawain manage to pin the dragon down with their swords. Artoria draws the sacred lance Rongo Minyad, which she had obtained with Merlin's help, and harnesses its power to strike down the beast. Despite Vortigern's demise, Britain still struggles from drought and poverty, and its people criticize Artoria's efforts. Yet, by enduring that ridicule, she is able to slowly improve the country's prosperity. Thus, she learns that, through her own suffering, Britain can be saved. Upon realizing this, Merlin reflects that he had made a mistake in raising the girl. She had become a prideless king who would do anything for her country, even at her own expense. He knows this would ultimately cause her despair. So that her country could have both king and queen, Artoria welcomes Lady Guinevere to Camelot as her wife. They share no romantic love, but formally hold the relationship for the sake of the country. In truth, Guinevere is in love with Sir Lancelot, and the two have an affair, courting in secrecy. Torn between her love and her devotion to Artoria, Guinevere is racked with guilt from her infidelity. Eventually, Artoria becomes aware of this affair, but does not condemn them. Instead, she keeps their affair a secret from the other knights. Through a letter, Artoria forgives and even blesses their relationship, leading Lancelot into madness, unable to cope with his own guilt. Following tradition, it becomes a problem that Artoria cannot create a biological heir with Guinevere. Merlin accomplishes this task by using his magic to temporarily make Artoria a pseudo-male, capable of producing sperm. To his fault, Merlin has a history of being a womanizer, and is seduced by Morgan Le Fay during this time. Morgan sneaks in, enchants Artoria, and steals some of her sperm. Morgan cultivates this in her own womb, giving birth to an identical homunculus clone of Artoria, named Mordred. Morgan hopes that Mordred will ascend the throne on her behalf. Once Mordred is told of her heritage, she confronts Artoria, demanding to be recognized as heir to the throne. She's rejected, and the admiration she has for her king turns to malice. Morgan sets a trap for Artoria during a training session, which results in Caliburn breaking and being forever lost. Later, during her travels, Artoria encounters Vivian, the Lady of the Lake, a phantasmal being known as a fairy. As an extension of the planet's will, Vivian is entrusted with guarding the holy sword Excalibur and its scabbard, Avalon. The sword was forged by the planet from the wishes of mankind. To replace Caliburn, Vivian passes Excalibur and Avalon onto Artoria. The sword turns Artoria's mana into luminescent heat, while the scabbard grants her immortality. In order for her kingdom to recover, Artoria sets out to eliminate all of Britain's overseas invaders. She continues to fight at the head of her forces, making bold decisions, such as sacrificing villages for the war effort. Her killing is vicious, unrelenting, such that many come to fear and hate her. She is both praised and condemned for being a perfect king. Her fighting ruthless, her rulings just and unwavering. These qualities strain her relationship with her knights. They cannot sense the humanity behind her supposed perfection. Because she had been trained to become a king her whole life, she had never lived the life of those she was tasked with protecting. Artoria repressed her human desires, her selfish whims, and as such could not understand the hearts of men. Of all of Artoria's knights, only a few know her true identity as a woman, as well as her near immortality while in possession of Avalon. Lancelot's knowledge of this is part of why he pursued Guinevere's affections in the first place. Sir Agravain also knows Artoria's secret, and continues to perpetuate the stigma of her inhumanity. Not out of disdain, but rather admiration. Britain's enemies are defeated, and the kingdom gains a temporary peace. Yet a new problem comes to focus. Britain, a land once prosperous with mana, is running scarce. To restore its flourishing mana, Artoria needs to obtain a miracle, a product of true magic. Thus, she embarks on a journey to seek the famed Holy Grail. Sadly, this effort is in vain, and more pressing political issues tear her from the search. Artoria sails out to Rome on a campaign to suppress their forces and ultimately form a peace treaty. Her battles are successful, but Avalon is stolen from her during the campaign, and trouble brews in her absence. Sir Agravain discovers the affair between Lancelot and Guinevere, and uses this knowledge to mock and threaten Guinevere. Agravain secretly despises women, both Mordred and Guinevere in particular. Enraged, Lancelot strikes Agravain down and flees to his homeland, killing many fellow knights in the process. Guinevere's affair is seen as treachery, and she is imprisoned, guarded on sight by Sir Gawain's siblings, Gareth and Gaheris, so that they may be by their queen. Lancelot comes to the rescue, killing the siblings and fleeing to France. Mordred takes advantage of this instability to raise a rebellion and conquer Camelot. As Artoria had been constantly warring, making great sacrifices for the kingdom, her people could not hold out long enough for conditions to improve. Mordred is able to form her army from that struggle, redirecting their suffering into hatred for Artoria. Artoria returns from Rome to encounter Mordred's army prepared for battle. For 7 days, the two forces fight in the Battle of Camlon, forming a massive pile of corpses in their wake. In that chaos, Artoria and Mordred meet face to face, with Mordred yearning to know why she was denied the throne, why she isn't accepted as Artoria's child. The two fight their last, Mordred being speared, and Artoria being mortally wounded. Witnessing the tragedy that came from her lack of humanity, Artoria is heartbroken. She alone was meant to die tragically, yet so many people have suffered the same fate. The ending she had reached was not the one she sought after. To avoid this fate, she is willing to do anything. When the will of the planet calls out to her, she tosses aside her own salvation, her chance to die, in order to serve the counterforce in exchange for the chance to seek the Holy Grail, so she can relive her reign as king and steer Britain from destruction. In preparation for the Fourth Holy Grail War, the Ainsburn family obtains the lost Avalon and uses it as a catalyst for Kiritsugu Emiya and Irisfiel to summon Artoria. At first, Artoria finds Kiritsugu's goal of world peace admirable, but is ultimately disgusted by his devious methods as an assassin. While she fights admirably to win the Grail, she is shocked when one of her opponents, Berserker, reveals himself to be Sir Lancelot, now enraged because he was forgiven for the affair, consumed by guilt. Sticking to her goal of obtaining the Grail, she slays Lancelot and reaches her final battle. At the end of the war, she finds herself losing to Gilgamesh and is ordered by Kiritsugu to use her remaining mana to destroy the Grail. For her, it was the ultimate betrayal. At this point, her desire to revisit her time as king changes into a desire to redo the selection of the king entirely and have someone else ascend the throne in her place. She no longer feels worthy. As fate would have it, she is summoned into the next Grail War by Kiritsugu's adopted son, Shiro. During the war, Artoria's pride as a warrior clashes against Shiro's selflessness. Their endeavor together prompts Artoria to reflect on her reign as king, to accept what had happened and move on. Furthermore, Shiro probes her to confront her choice to become king, and the life as a normal girl she left behind. They fall in love amidst the war's chaos, and, after discovering the Grail's corrupt true nature, the two of them destroy it. No longer seeking the Grail, Artoria's pact with the planet comes to an end, and her spirit returns to her dying body in Camelot. In her final living moments, she has Bedivere return Excalibur to the Lady of the Lake, before silently dying beneath a tree. Having come to terms with her reign, she could now find peace, and her spirit makes its way to Avalon, a paradise where only the king may go in the afterlife, a place existing in the reverse side of the world, along with remnants from the Age of Gods. After endlessly waiting, she is joined in this paradise by her love, Shiro, and their spirits are eternally united. I hope you enjoyed this new type of lore video. If you liked it, please consider supporting us on Patreon, and subscribe to Otaku Daikun for more anime lists, reviews, discussions, lore videos, let's plays, and more. Until next time, celebrate your fandom.